In this video, I want to have a look at solids of revolution and I want to help you to be able to visualize them. So often when you get a question, you'll be given a function, for example, y equals x plus 2, which is this straight line here, and you'll be asked to find the volume of a solid when that function is rotated either around the x-axis or the y-axis. So to help us do that, we're in GeoGebra, and we've got this graphics section here that just shows us our x and y axes and our function. And over here we've got our 3D view. So right now we're looking straight down at our y and our x axes, but we can also rotate it to see that third dimension. Now at the moment nothing exciting is happening because we're just looking at a line, and a line only has 2 dimensions. But when we rotate it in a moment, it'll get a little bit more interesting. So when we get a question like this, it's not going to rotate the whole function. It's only going to do it between certain values. So for example, if we just look at this pink section here, so we're just looking at this function between the values of x equals 0 and x equals 3. So we'll get rid of the rest of the function and just focus on this pink bit. Now we're going to rotate that first around the x-axis. So we'll turn this on and we'll turn our animation on. Whoops. And over here we can see what's happening when it rotates. So it's tracing it out as it goes around. So again, if you're just looking at it just with the x and y axes shown, you can't see exactly what it's doing. You can get an idea of the shape. But if we rotate it, you can see what shape is formed there. So it kind of looks like a cupcake patty, depending on which way up it is. So you can see what shape it is, and we would be able to find the volume of that. And we'll look at how exactly to do that in a little while. If we turn that back off, bring it back down to 0, we're going to have a look at what happens if we rotate the other direction. So instead of rotating around the x-axis, we're going to rotate around the y-axis now. We'll turn that on. I forgot to turn the trace on, hang on. Now it'll draw it out as it moves around. Here we go again. So you can see that this time it's forming a cone shape there, and we'd be able to find the volume of that cone. All right, let's have a look at some functions that are a little bit more interesting than straight lines. So the second example that we're going to look at is the parabola, just y equals x squared. Again, we don't want to rotate the whole thing. We're just going to have a look at the values. We'll just pick 0 and 3 for our x values again. So we're just looking at this pink section here. So if we rotate it first around the y-axis this time, so we're going to turn our animation on, and you can see it start to spin around there. So what you can see when we rotate it is that 3D shape that it's forming. So we would be able to find the volume of that. And again, we'll have a look at that in the next video. But you can see that sort of cup shape that it's forming. If we turn that off, bring it back down to 0 and clear that. And this time we'll rotate it around the x-axis instead. So it's going to give us a very different shape this time. It's going to give us, still got that curve on it, and it's very skinny this time. It's going to give us almost sort of a funnel shape there. So the idea is, obviously you guys won't have GeoGebra in your exams, but you need to be able to start visualizing what these curves look like when they're rotated either around the x-axis or the y-axis. If we have a look at one last example, we're going to have a look at a region this time that's bounded by 2 different curves. So our first one is our parabola, y equals x squared, and our next one is just the straight line y equals x. So again, you can see them over here, but we just want to look at this region that's bounded by both of them. So that goes between those 2 values, so we're just looking at the bit that's inside the blue and the red. We'll get rid of the rest of it. We're just looking at this section here. So we're going to rotate around one axis first, and then we'll rotate around the other one in just a minute. So if we turn this on, and it's going to start rotating around the y-axis. So when we do that, you've got to sort of be able to have a look and see what's happening on the inside of the shape as well as the outside. So from the red, you can see that the outside of our shape is nice and curved, that same shape as the parabola. But the inside of our shape is straight. It has straight edges. because of that straight line. So it's a cone on the inside, and it's this parabolic bowl on the outside. All right, let's have a look at what it looks like if we rotate it around the x-axis instead. So I've got that up the wrong way. That goes that way. So we'll bring that back down to 0, clear that whole thing out, and change our values that we've got chosen over here. Right, and let's start that again. Going around the x-axis this time. So you can see this time that the outside is going to be that conic shape, so that cone, and the inside is going to be almost this reverse parabola shape. So it's nice cone on the outside in the blue, and in the red, it has that curve to it. Right. So it might be an idea for you guys to try and start sketching a few of these when you have questions, just to get a feel for what these shapes look like.